Welcome back. This is Our Breakfast on Citizen TV. Seeing as it is the beginning of a brand new week, I'd like to start our week off with a little motivation. And this morning we're going to be talking a little bit about what it feels like to challenge your inner critic and deal with some of the root causes of self-esteem issues, insecurities, etc. Joining me in the studio, Dr. Wale Akinyemi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's a blue day.
It's a blue day. There we go.
Monday blues going on. So maybe we can start with actually tackling what it actually means to be insecure. How does that manifest in our life?
You know, insecurity can come from different things. I used to think insecurity was about social standing or whatever, but I found out that you have people who have a lot of money and are very insecure, and you have people who don't have money and are secure. You know, so insecurity comes from self-acceptance. It comes from the fact that you feel you want to belong in a particular place and you don't belong. And then, so the whole journey of doing things to want to be accepted, to want to belong, all right? And, you know, a lot of these shows, on these movies on high school, you know, shows and all that, we see a lot of the people that appear to be the tough. Sometimes you realize that those are the insecure ones.
Right.
Okay? So where does it come from? Like you said, it comes fundamentally from a feeling that I am deprived of something and I want to be who I think I am not.
Right. And you mentioned high school, but it's actually not something that just goes away after high school. This is a lifelong sort of battle that some people have to deal with. And I think that's tough for people to understand that, you know what, I'm an adult now, I shouldn't be feeling these things.
But, okay, I'll give you an example. And my mom was deaf in one ear, okay? And she was, for a lot of her life, very insecure because she felt people knew. So that disability created that feeling. And, you know, so when we were growing up and all that, and then I was much older and we talked and she confided in me, and I said, you know what? Nobody knows. And that's the thing. When we are insecure, insecurity comes from also some level of self-rejection, you know, or a feeling of rejection, you know. And so I told her, I said, nobody knows. But that feeling, you know, that people are talking about me, I am not good enough, I don't have what it takes, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. As a generation right now, the generation coming up is very, they evaluate themselves quite a bit based on social media and the need for acceptance. And, you know, there's just a lot of scrutiny around who it is that we present ourselves to be. How does that affect, you know, people growing up in this day and age?
A lot. I was having a chat with my daughter about this, you know, yesterday when we were just bouncing ideas about the show this morning. And she said that there's a lot of suicide going on amongst young people. Why is that? It's also because of that feeling of I don't belong, a feeling of deprivation of something. And that's why more than ever before we need to pump the message that individually we need to accept ourselves. Because nobody can, why should anybody accept you if you have not accepted yourself? And I think that is a very, very key pillar to helping a lot of people. I found out that I interact with a lot of people who, insecurity, who have very, very high levels of insecurity, and they are going out of their way to try to belong. We all, and I think at a stage, most of us had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, at some stage. Because I remember growing up, there were certain things that I felt I lacked, and I would now try to overdo certain other things
compensating.
to compensate,
yeah.
you know, so that at least if I lack this, guys, you can see that here I am, you know. So, and that led me to a lot of terrible things. Now, people looking at me thought I was cool, and they said, but they did not know I was feeling insecure and trying to compensate.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what. So I think it's very important that every single person, you know, we all have something good about us, and I think the journey should start from there.
Yeah.
The journey. Many times we celebrate what we don't have, and we underplay what we have. We celebrate what others have. We downplay what we have. You know, and I think it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
I think it should be, we get to a place where we identify that, you know what, even a broken clock is correct twice a day.
True.
So no matter how messed up I may be, there is something good about me.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the job of mentors also, to help people discover the good in them. I have always said, when you look at the story of David and Goliath in the Bible, David, he drew energy from the good. What do I mean? He had a Goliath in front of him, and he said, you know what? I killed a lion, I killed a bear, I'm going to kill Goliath. Everybody has their lion and bear story. The day you sang and everybody said, oh, what a wonderful voice. The day you wrote something and people said, oh, that's fantastic. You know, we all have our lion and bear stories. And I think we should begin to bring out and draw a lot of strength from our lion and bear stories.
Yeah.
That, I think, is a very practical way to go about it. Because, of course, the ideal is just accept yourself. But it becomes difficult to just do that in a society where everybody wants to be measured by the number of follows they have, the number of likes they have, and so on and so forth. So, fine, let's play with that too. There are areas in your life. You know, if somebody would just sit down and do a self-evaluation and ask, what area of my life do I normally get the most compliments? Take note of it.
Right.
What area of my life do I see that people are more willing to defer to me? Take note of it. What area of my life is it that my opinion matters? Take note of it. You see, the thing is, a lot of us, we don't evaluate ourselves. When we begin to take note of those things, then we will see a pattern.
Yeah.
And once you've identified that pattern, then focus, you know, it's the 80-20 rule. Now focus your energy on those things. Because those are areas you got praise without soliciting, you got acceptance without canvassing for it, and all that. So it's a natural thing. So focus your energy on those things.
Well, in this journey towards self-acceptance, it's not an easy journey.
No, it's not.
And, you know, as much as we have our lion and bear stories, we also have an inner critic, you know, that tends to come out when things aren't going so well. What do you think? Is it that things happened in our past? I mean, what attitudes shape that inner critic to be, you know, ever present?
I like what you said about experiences from our past. You know, there are people who are insecure today. The irony of it is, there are people who are insecure today because they were bullied. But they were bullied by insecure people. But they did not realize that they were being bullied by insecure people, that the reason that guy is bullying me is because the only thing he has is his strength. And so he's using that strength to compensate for what he lacks in other areas. Okay? So, yes, there are things in our past, and this is the one that we all, no matter how difficult it is, we have to work towards getting away from that negative past. We have to. People may say it's easier said than done, but the truth is, we have to. And one of the ways I learned how to get away from that is You know, I read somewhere that habits cannot be broken, they are replaced.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to replace one habit with another. Okay? So I found out that when I look at the things in my past that kind of want to pull me down, then if I can create new memories and new things in my present to act as a distraction. So initially it starts as a distraction, but as I focus on it, it now becomes the main thing. I think that's very important in getting away from our past. And that's why I said everybody should just sit down and do that little exercise. Where do I get praise without soliciting for it? Where do people commend me without my canvassing? Where do people defer to me? Where is my voice? Because at the end of the day, what everybody is looking for is a feeling of importance. That I have a voice. My opinion counts. We did a survey we've done surveys with different organizations that we work for. And we found out that one of the things that help retain the staff even more than money is the fact that people feel they have a voice.
Yeah.
Their opinion counts. They are important. That feeling of importance is so crucial, and it's there. We all have it.
Yeah. Just have to work our way towards getting there.
We all have it.
Yeah. One of the things about insecurity and low self-esteem, all these things, it's how much people don't understand how it seeps into every aspect of your life. So you might be insecure at work, and that's seeping into your relationships, and maybe you can talk a little bit about how it is that this manifests in such a major way that sometimes we don't even accept.
You know, I think a few weeks ago we were here and we're talking, and I said, when you have a problem, you know, back in days you have an equation, 2x plus 4 equals 16. The problem is the x. So to solve x, we need to isolate x. So 2x equals 16 minus 4. X equals 16 minus 4 divided by 2. You cannot solve the problem if you don't isolate it. Now, so the fact that, yes, I have this feeling of, maybe at work, I have this feeling of insecurity at work. Don't generalize. Don't take the x and put across the equation. Isolate the x. And like I said the other time, you now look at other areas of your life and you draw energy from there. You know, it's like filling your tank. Right? I do have these issues at work, but you know what? I've identified that there's an energy base at home. There's an energy base in playing golf. There's an energy base. Find your energy base. Draw enough energy from there that you will use, and then let that, you know, energy bases create memories. Create memory. You know, everybody right now, there's something you can listen, you can there's a memory you can recall right now and get happy. There's a memory you can recall and get sad. Those memories have become anchors, like the anchor for the boat. There's a couple that I interacted with, and they had a very, very terrible breakup. Now, the guy used a particular kind of cologne. Anytime she smelled something like that, she got angry. Why? Because that scent has become an anchor. There's a friend of mine in Nollywood. She's one of the great actresses there, and she can cry. My God, she cries on demand. I asked her, I said, you do so well. How do you do this? She said, well, she just thinks of her late mom. So there is something we can focus our thinking on that can generate happiness or that can make us sad. So create enough memories away from the place of insecurity. That is, if you find out that you are stuck in that place of insecurity, because the ideal thing is to move to where? Always a good way you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Yeah.
But if you find out that you're stuck there, create enough memories in other areas so that you can use those as anchors when you get to this place.
Yeah. When we talk about insecurities, a lot of time we might play the blame game and say, my mother did this to me, my husband is not supportive. But there's also a lot of self-sabotaging that goes that goes into this, where we place more importance on, external factors, when really it starts with us, right?
Until we accept the truth about ourselves, we will continue blaming people and we will never have a solution. So I think, as brutally honest as it sounds, there are people who got messed up who have done well. So we cannot keep hiding behind what other people have done.
But it's easier to do that, isn't it?
It's easier to do that.
Yeah.
But we need to take responsibility if we're going to move forward with our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about the past, and some people hold on to that their entire lives and use it as an excuse, as you're saying. How important is it for us to forgive the past, to forgive ourselves if terrible things happened to us in our past? How important of an aspect is that to...
It's very crucial, and I think the most difficult person to forgive is yourself. That's the most difficult person to forgive. And maybe that's why the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. Because the degree to which you give love is the degree to which you have loved yourself and accepted yourself. And I, like many people, look at our past and look at certain things, dumb things we did when we were kids, and look at the impact those things have later on. And so you find that you forgive everybody, but for a long time,
you don't forgive yourself.
You don't forgive yourself. And unfortunately, you cannot, and it sometimes, it looks good. Society even likes it that, yes, you're very, very remorseful, But the truth is, until you forgive yourself and you let go, of course, in the process of forgiving yourself, you're forgiving people, and where you need to make amends, you've made amends, and all that, because you just can't go messing up everywhere, then forgiving yourself and causing heartbreaks everywhere you're going. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But when all things are equal, you have made amends where necessary, where you need to be forgiving other people, then it's crucial. Forgive yourself.
Right. Another thing that often happens when we talk about insecurity and self-esteem is that people have created a narrative of things that might have happened in their head. And, I think one of the major things in moving forward is accepting that things are subjective. It's not the narrative necessarily that you might have told yourself or said, life is hard, for example. Yeah. Once we have that in our head, it's very hard to move forward.
Yes, well, we have, unfortunately, faith comes by hearing. We keep hearing it, we keep hearing it, we keep hearing it, and then we keep repeating it, and then we find ourselves in a bubble. And we live in that bubble, and even if it's a lie, we believe it to the point where, I have a friend, this guy has lied so much about his age, he does not remember his real age anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like that. They're in the bubble. They've told these stories. They've told these stories that they don't even remember the truth.
Yeah.
So they need a jolting back to reality. Yeah.
It's a very scary thing when you actually think about some of the lies that we tell ourselves and how quickly it is that we can believe that.
Yeah, one big lie. Everybody said, the devil made me do it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So, there's a lot of people walking around, like you said, with insecurities and compensating, for their flaws. How do you deal with an insecure person, like in the workplace, or if you're in a relationship with someone who actually, you know, has low self-esteem? How do you best?
I think the
approach them?
workplace, it will be different from a relationship. If I'm in a relationship, I really love the person, I really care about the person, I understand their insecurities, then I help them to manage it. All right? Because no matter how, even these insecurities have a trigger. You know? So if I'm working with someone, or I'm in a relationship with someone, and I know when you talk in this direction, it triggers the insecurities of this person, then you try to avoid that. You know? That's a way of helping them manage it. At the workplace, if I'm dealing with an insecure person, again, we try to navigate around it as long as we have not gone beyond the boundaries of being reasonable at the workplace, because we have a job to do. And if you're insecure, okay, I'm sorry, but when you're at work, get over it.
That's simple.
Yeah. When you're at work,
Yeah.
get over it.
Yeah.
You can go back and pick up your insecurity
At the door.
At the door.
Yeah.
But when you're coming in and you have a job to do, leave that insecurity at the door. Come in, do your work, and then.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, if you give too much airtime to your insecurity, you bring the business down. And no business can, you know, can afford personal insecurities beyond a level. Yeah.
Yeah. So leave that at the gate.
Yeah, leave that.
So as we're talking about this, you know, this journey towards self-acceptance, that inner critic still resides and will pop its head up occasionally. So how is it best that we challenge that inner critic and first of all accept that the inner critic is there, but sort of understand when it's coming up and how to deal with that?
It's that if you pay too much attention to that inner critic, you will never get anything done in life. Because every time you want to step out, it will come back. Every time you want to step out, it's going to come back. So, and I have learned how to counter negative thoughts.
How?
Are you ready?
How do you do that? Yes.
Can I teach you?
Yes, please.
Okay. I want you to think, I want you to begin to count. When I tell you to start, just count from 1 and just keep counting. Are you ready? Set, go. Now, say this with me. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in
the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays
okay, what number are you now?
What? I forgot.
Excellent. So how do you counter negative thoughts? With words. The minute you speak and you counter that thought, you kill it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Wow. That was easier than I thought.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You counter negative thoughts with words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speak positivity into into existence.
And you just interrupt. Once you've interrupted it, it goes.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a simple trick. I hope everyone watching at home has picked that up because, you know, it works. We're going to just wrap up here, and maybe you can give us some final comments to someone who might be watching this morning and has had those self-esteem issues, insecurities that they're dealing with, and just, you know, getting the process started of moving forward.
Well, important to know, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Nobody can step on the back of somebody who is standing upright. So, it's very important. If you do not praise yourself, why should anybody praise you? If you don't see good in yourself, why should anybody see good in you? And finally, I've said it before, a broken clock is correct twice a day. No matter how messed up you are, there's something good about you. Find it. Find it
and focus on it. Yeah. Dr. Wale Akinyemi, thank you so much. Perhaps you can share your social media handles once again.
Thank you. Website www.powertalks.biz, Twitter @Wale Akinyemi, and Facebook Wale Akinyemi resource page.
Right. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning here on Power Breakfast. I think we've started off the week on the right note, so we appreciate it. Power Breakfast does continue. We are going to be checking out some motorbikes next, so Stay tuned. We'll be right back.